Hey there. We're talking about how buying into false ideas about the holiday and holiday joy can leave you drained and disappointed. And we're also going to talk about practical ways to, direct your mental energy towards gratitude, connection, meaning, and living in the present moment. We're going to do that in just one moment. Hi there. Welcome to Stress Talk Live with Marcyline. I am your host, Marcyline Bailey, and this is the place where we help women over 40 to live healthier lives through strategic stress management and solution focused self care. Happy holidays, everyone. As you know, we have been going through our Get Through the Holidays Without Losing It series. This is the time of year when we're expected to be cheerful and joyful and happy. It's not always that way, though, for us because we're overworked, we're stressed, and there's just so much going on in our lives, in the world. We have many responsibilities and roles. So, and Get Through the Holiday Without Losing It, I am providing information and strategies, excuse me, to help you to get through the holidays without, pulling your hair out and all that stuff. and all that stuff. I am always, as always, going to ask you to please like, follow, and subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Not only that, if you want to know more about ML Bailey Consultants, go to Tap Link. This is my Tap Link right here. Go to it. You'll find all kinds of links that will take you to information. And beginning next year, you're going to see some updated things. You're going to see a slightly new look as I go forward with some plans that I have for the new year. And I'll share that with you, in 2024. We are talking about today, we're talking about 4 actions to make the holiday season merry and bright. As I've explained before, the holidays we have this expectation of the holidays that it's going to be like the movies, right? Like Hallmark Channel, which, yes, I'm a fan. I watch. My husband watches. We have our favorites, and we have some of those movies that we're like, don't want to see that. But the point is that around the holidays, we're supposed to be, or we're expected to be cheerful, merry, and bright. But sometimes we're just not feeling it. Sometimes we're just overwhelmed. So today, I wanted to share a few things with you, a couple of things that causes us to not have the holiday spirit. And I'm going to propose a few strategies that you can use in order to make a shift. You know, I always talk about paradigm shifts. I always talk about how we can shift our mindset, shift the way we're thinking just slightly, and how much that can make a change in our lives and how we approach life. So, we're going to get into our topic. Let me pull up my notes here. All right. We're talking about 4 actions to make our holiday season merry and bright. Now, with these four actions, I wanted to lay a little foundation before I talk about the four things that I'm proposing and suggesting, the four strategies. First, I want to talk about one thing that causes us to not feel the holiday spirit. And sometimes this extends throughout our year. It's not just we get to the holidays and all of a sudden we're feeling this way. It extends throughout the year and we carry it with us. It's just exacerbated during the holiday season. Number one, focusing on what we don't have. I just want to let that sit there for a moment. Focusing on what we don't have. When we focus on what we don't have, we're not just focusing on the material things, although that is a big part of it. We're focusing on other aspects of life, goals we've not attained, um, a livelihood that we are not living yet, having certain people in our lives, certain relationships in our lives, focusing on what we lack. Some people call that a lack mentality, where we feel that we don't have, and we feel that we can never have or we can't get. How do we know that we're focusing on what we don't have? I'm going to give you a few examples because sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we fall into this. We fall into this mindset and we're not aware. So here's one of the ways that we know that we're focusing on what we have. We use a phrase that is basically yes, but. Yeah, I have a car, but it's falling apart. Yeah, I have a job, but they just don't pay me enough. Yeah, I live in that neighborhood, but you know what? The they don't pick up our trash on time. They should pick it up before I leave work, right? It's a but. There is a statement and a but, which means that there's a qualifier. You may be saying one thing, but then you have to qualify it. And that qualification is negative. Yeah, I have a car, but it's broken. It doesn't work very well. It gets me where I need to go, but it's old. You know, it's a yes, but. That's focusing on what we don't have. Another way of focusing on what we don't have is when we're in a perpetual venting mode, where no matter what we're talking about, we start venting about something else. There is very little verbalization of satisfaction, little verbalization of um, happiness, little verbalization of acceptance. It is all something is wrong, there's a problem, nobody can do anything right, no one can do it well, no one can do it as well as I can, but they won't let me. It's a constant stream of venting. And you may know someone like that. You may have friends like that or family members like that, where they are constantly venting about a problem. There's something wrong all the time. So, evidence, how do we know that we're focusing on what we don't have? We use phrases such as yes, but. We also vent constantly. We're constantly venting. Another way that we know that we're focusing on what we don't have is when we think or believe that the grass is greener on the other side. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others, whether that's our brother, our sister, our auntie, our uncle, our cousin's neighbors, cousin twice removed. We're constantly comparing ourselves. Not only, I mean, our looks, our what we have, our achievements, our accomplishments, everything is a comparison. That's how we know that we're focusing on what we don't have. It's the grass is greener on the other side, and I want what they have. The grass is not always greener, as many of us have learned through experience. And it takes a lot of work for that grass to be green. I once had a friend who said, I still have a friend. She is still my friend. I haven't seen her in many years. She once said, Marcy, people want what you have, but they don't understand what it takes to get it, number one, and what it takes to keep it. And that is so true. That's very true. So the grass may not be greener on the other side, and we may not actually want what they have, but we are focused on what we don't have, and therefore we are hyper focused on comparisons. Okay. So the first one of the things that causes us to not feel cheerful, merry and bright during the holidays is that we're focusing on what we don't have. That's number one. The second thing, as I lay the groundwork for the strategies that I'm going to share, is that we have a false notion about happiness. And I added core beliefs to that because happiness, the happiness, which is the state of being happy, is really rooted in our core beliefs. It's what's in our gut, it's what we hold dear and firm. How else can we look at happiness? Well, happiness is an emotion and it's a pleasant emotion. Sometimes we can equate it to being content. It can be even an intense joy that you might feel, but it's a continuum, right? It's not just a static feeling or emotion. There is a continuum. You can be content, and there's a range. But we may have a false belief about what makes us happy. And I want to share a few of those things with you as well. We feel that life is absolute, meaning that our lives exist independently of everything else. That we're the only ones on the planet and we're the only ones that matter. And that our lives are independent of any forces and they're not related to anything else. And that is a false belief. It's not true because we are interdependent. We are interdependent on other people, and our environment affects who we are and what we do. Our opportunities affect who we are and what we do. Our access affects who we are and what we do. So many things affect us that when we rely on things that are outside to make us happy, we're relying on a false notion about happiness because those things can change in any minute. And when they change, it can cause difficulties for us, right? In mindfulness, we talk about impermanence. And when we talk about impermanence, the idea or the concept of impermanence is that things constantly change. Nothing is the same. It changes. Nothing is the same. Who sang the song? Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. I think it was George Benson. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody drop it in the comments if I'm wrong. Um, but I think it was George Benson who sang that. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Nothing is static. And so when we relate to our outside world, meaning our relationships, our interactions, our environment, it's constantly changing. And so we cannot always rely on it being permanent and a source of permanent happiness. And that might be a topic for another podcast, right? The other thing that I alluded to about that false notion about happiness is that happiness comes from the outside. People who are the most happy and people who are satisfied and have satisfaction in their lives, ongoing satisfaction, ongoing contentment, are people who have a purpose. They feel that there's a purpose to their life and to their existence, and they walk in that purpose. They also find joy in meaningful relationships, those relationships that are with them, they interact, they find joy in those relationships. And these are meaningful relationships, people you're close to, people you care about, people who care about you. The other thing about happiness, and that it doesn't come from the outside, it's rooted inside, is that there's a congruence, a connection between our values and our actions. What we do matches our core values, things that we hold as standards in our lives, things by which everything else is measured. So the happiness doesn't come from the outside, it comes from the inside with our purpose, having a purpose, having feeling joy because of me, you have meaningful relationships. And the third thing is that you're moving in a way that there's a congruence between your core values, those standards that you have, and your actions. And we know actions speak louder than words, right? So you want your actions to match what you firmly believe. So I was laying the groundwork for the strategies that I'm going to share with you. The first, the first thing I shared with you is that we focus on things that we don't have, and this causes us to lack cheer and joy during the holidays. And the second thing is that we have a false notion about happiness. Happiness is rooted in our core beliefs and our values, and that it doesn't come from the outside, it's rooted inside of us. So, what can we do? What's one thing that we can do? Well, I'm going to share four things that we can do to what? Make the holiday season merry and bright. The first thing that I want to share with you is that we focus on the right here and the right now. I talked about mindfulness meditation. Well, I'm talking about mindfulness here, focusing on the present, not dwelling in the past, which leads us to experience depression and to feel sad sometimes when we dwell in the past, and not jumping into the future constantly, which can cause us to feel and experience anxiety or anxiousness. Being in the right here and the right now. So, practicing mindfulness is one thing that we can do in order to experience a holiday season that is merry and bright. So how do we get into the right here and the right now? How do we practice presence? The first thing is to be aware of your breath, aware of your breathing. We take our breath for granted, and it is the one thing that we actually need in order to live. Breath is life. So we want to begin to become more aware of our breathing. And you can just take a moment right now and just, you don't have to change your breath, but just become aware of it and how it feels going in and out of your body. Focusing on the breath is one way to bring you in to the present moment. The other thing, once you notice your breath and become more aware of your breathing, again, you don't have to change it, is to use your senses. What do you notice? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you smell? What do you taste? Using your senses is a way to bring yourself into the present, or as I called it, the right here and right now. Just notice. You can do this anywhere at any time. You can do it in a meeting. You can do it while talking to someone. You can do it while you're driving, being present, noticing. Now, I'm not talking about spacing out. I'm not talking about going into a trance. I'm not talking about falling asleep. What I'm talking about is being fully present, being fully awake, being fully aware of the right here, right now, present moment. Making your holiday season merry and bright requires that you breathe and notice, that you engage your senses, and that you notice the present. It's practicing mindfulness. Another thing that you can do is taking that a step farther and actually meditating, using meditation. Mindfulness meditation or mindfulness, and I want to give you this definition, which I should have given you earlier. It can be defined as learning to bring our attention to the present and simply seeing what arises without bias or judgment. That's really key. Just noticing without any type of judgment, without any type of critique, without any type of um, opinion about it. Just noticing. When we meditate and we use mindfulness meditation, we're actually quieting the mind. Do you notice sometimes how your mind is jumping around? Um, I saw, I watched The Amazing Race, and they went to India this season, and they were in a space a location where there were monkeys, and monkeys were just jumping everywhere. I mean, they were everywhere. They were jumping, they were running, they were getting out. Oh, they were everywhere. And some of the contestants were little afraid of them, but they were going everywhere. Sometimes our mind is like that, where it's going all over the place and it's just going. And it's hard to focus, it's hard to pay attention, it's hard to do some of the tasks that we need to do, right? And it can cause us to feel overwhelmed because there's so much in our brain and it's all over the place. It's like this. It's like that. Okay, whew, let me slow down. So, when we practice meditation, we're doing mindfulness meditation, we're actually quieting the mind. We're calming the mind down. We're bringing it to a level where it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop because we're constantly thinking. Thank you for that. We're constantly thinking, but we're quieting it. I think about when I was growing up, and I used to see my grandparents and my great grandparents, my aunts, my older aunts. They would sit on the porch, and they would just sit there. And I thought that was the most boring thing to just sit on a porch when I was a kid, because we were running around, all our kids, my cousins and my brother and I, we would run around playing, and there would be our grandparents sitting on a porch, just sitting there. They would say a few words to each other. Somebody would walk down the street, they would speak to them, but they would just sit. It occurs to me that they were practicing mindfulness, that they were sitting, they were quieting their mind. Sometimes they would tell us, why don't you just sit down? Why don't you just sit here, sit on the step, just sit down, just rest. Kids don't want to rest. We didn't want to rest. We just wanted to play. But it's quieting the mind when you practice mindfulness meditation. The third thing, I've talked about two ways two actions that can make your holidays merry and bright. I talked about being in the right here, right now, right in the present moment. And I've also talked about practicing mindfulness and also using mindfulness meditation. The third thing is experiencing life with curiosity and openness. I mentioned that when thoughts come up, we want to not use judgment or bias or critique or opinion. It is so easy for us as we're moving through our lives to be judgmental, to be opinionated, to critique, all of these things when we really don't have to. What does it serve us? Think about it. What does it serve us? And when we're during the holidays, being open, being curious, relieves us of the pressure to critique every moment, every actions or every statement someone else might make. You want to try to be curious and open about things. Number 4, and this is a big one. This is a big one. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. This is a big one. The fourth strategy is practicing gratitude. Studies have shown that when we practice gratitude, it boosts our energy and it makes us feel good. It really does. It makes us feel good. You can start your day by making a list of the things for which you're grateful. Start your day that way and end your day that way. When you get up, just go through. Hey, I'm grateful that I have toothpaste to brush my teeth. And I know that's a simple thing, but there are many people who don't have toothpaste to brush their teeth. Hey, I'm grateful that I have a bed. Hey, I'm grateful that I woke up this morning. Start your day with gratitude. End your day with gratitude. We review all of the things that happened that were not so fun during the day or were negative during the day, the arguments we had, the side eye somebody gave us in line, the work that our boss gave us, practice gratitude. Go through a list of things that for which you are grateful. Begin your day that way and end your day that way. Secondly, pay attention to your words. Words have power. Words have meaning. Words have power. We can speak things into existence with our words. We really can. And when we're speaking negative things, that's what comes to us. What we speak actually comes back to us because it leads our actions. It moves us in a certain direction. It causes us to behave a certain way. So our words have power. So we want to watch our words, be very thoughtful about what we say. And it will also lead us to be thoughtful about what we do. Third thing, in terms of practicing gratitude, be thoughtful about your thoughts. Be aware of your thoughts because our brain, we can ruminate on negative things. If we're thinking on positive things, we feel better. And I'm not saying that everything is pie in the sky and everything is wonderful and we're walking down candy cane lane. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this. When we are positive and when we practice gratitude, we take ourselves out of that stress mode and we're able to think more clearly. And when we're able to think more clearly, we're able to problem solve easier. It's all tied together. So practicing gratitude. So I have talked about and I've shared with you, and I'm a little over, but I want to review this with you. I've talked about 4 actions to make the holiday season merry and bright. And I began by laying a foundation as to why our holidays, a couple of reasons our holidays may not be bright. Because sometimes we focus on what we don't have. We also sometimes have false notions about happiness and core beliefs. And that is rooted in our core beliefs. I shared with you 4 things that you can do, 4 strategies. The first is be in the present, the right here and the right now. And I gave you a way, easy way to do that, to come into the present. I talked about mindfulness and mindfulness meditation and how my grandparents, I believe, used mindfulness meditation because they used to sit. They used to sit. The other thing, the third thing I talked about was experience life with curiosity and openness. That's without bias, without judgment, without critique, without anticipation, without negativity, just openness and curiosity. And finally, practicing gratitude. Start and end your day by listing things for which you are grateful. Pay attention to your words because words have power. And the third thing, just be mindful of your thoughts because our thoughts can cause us to go into a stress mode, and we want not to be in a stress mode. Well, that's all for now. I'm so glad that you joined me today. Next week, I'll be traveling. I'll just be getting back. Hopefully, I'll be on with you again as we continue to get through the holidays without losing it. I'm Marcyline Bailey. That's all for now. Everybody, take good care.